So I was just reading on Twitter a quote from Dwayne Casey about Killian Hayes finding his niche. When you're in a corner, that's prime real estate. When a coach puts you in the corner, that's a sign of respect. He said that's where Hayes has to find a role. Not even, I don't even want to speak on Killian Hayes' development in his second year, but they expect, more out of Killian Hayes in the try. I think that's a fair assessment right now, right? I don't think setting him up as a catch and shoot player in the corner. I mean, there are things you can do from corner you can't create out of the corner, but you're kind of relegating him to a catch and shoot corner player for the most part because regardless of who he's in the game with Corey Joseph or Kay Cunningham, he's going to be off the ball. Do you really like that for Killian Hayes? Just for this Detroit team right now that's trying to figure things out?
Killian Hayes is going through the old. His coach didn't watch him play before they drafted him. Also, with the fact that he hasn't played up to expectations. Nothing about Killian Hayes coming to the NBA said that he was a catch and shoot player. Sure. All the highlights you watching him, he was handling the ball. The moment they drafted Cade, they probably should have just traded Killian Hayes because Cade was going to be your starting point guard.
Right.
So it is a matter of trying to find your niche or your pocket or whatever. That is true, but you drafted Killian, top 5?
Mm-hmm.
His niche should have been leading the team. So he had injuries and stuff like that. But
right.
I don't know Dwayne Casey to be a developer. So
I guess that's my thing too. Right? Like Dwayne Casey, even though that he doesn't have a playoff roster, he's not there really to develop.
I mean, when he went there, they had a playoff roster.
That's true though.
That's what so he thought he was going to compete on playoff teams. But Killian Hayes just has been underwhelming. I mean, then he got hurt in his rookie year. He showed a lack of aggressiveness. That's always been the thing with guards from overseas. There's been a few that they haven't played that way, but most of the guards that come from overseas have always had a lack of aggression.
Right.
That's always been the issue with a lot of them.
No, I kind of feel the same. And back to your point about Dwayne Casey, he was brought to a team that was a playoff team trying to go to the playoffs. They traded for Blake Griffin, but he has 1 year on his contract, so maybe Detroit starts that rebuild.
Oh, this is last year?
I think next year's last year.
Oh, he might not make it to that last year.
Probably not. But hopefully Detroit, starts their rebuild soon because they do have some young talent and maybe use some trade assets they can throw out there to kind of get a jump started. But starting with Cade is a good starting point in my opinion. But with that being said, I'm John Duggan.
For sure.
This is the Hoopers Morning Run. In that December grind, John, where some teams already got their momentum going, some teams trying to find a rhythm. The Memphis Grizzlies beat the Lakers by 13, and I think it's safe to say that even without John Morant, and Dylan Brooks, and Brandon Clark, the Memphis Grizzlies have had a rhythm going all season, and the Lakers are just yet to find it. Even when they put it together for a string of games, they can't put it together for a week's worth or 2 weeks worth of games, which is what we saw last. I don't know how much of the game you saw, but from the Lakers just didn't really, at certain points, they just don't compete. That's offensively or defensively, like things happen, and then when it's not working how they wanted to work, they kind of get out of it.
Right.
And I know, shout out to LeBron, my bad. He got his 100 triple-double last night as well. But sound too excited about that part.
Hey, he got it. But the Lakers overall, they just, for one day, like they've had their ups and their downs mainly this year. We know they've had their injuries, but
right.
They just don't look like a good team overall.
No.
They don't look like they've played together. And I mean, it's still some time to go, but after a while, we're going to stop saying that it's still some time to go. So they have to kind of kick it in gear at some point, and everybody just catch a rhythm. And that's why I've been heavy on your best player should have been Anthony Davis trying coming to this year, but he just seems like he's lost himself overall. And like Jaren Jackson just kind of went at him last night, honestly. He wasn't afraid of him. You would have thought Jaren Jackson was the better player, really. So I don't know what the Lakers can do other than just like they communicate on the floor. LeBron and Westbrook turn the ball over, and every time they touch the ball, damn near it feels like they had 22 turnovers last night. LeBron and Westbrook had 11 of them. So, they just, and at certain points they just don't even compete. I remember with Anthony Davis, I saw a lot of people. Can't remember who it was. It probably was a retweet from Nick Andre. Shout out to Nick Andre. But they posted like it was some stuff of Anthony Davis. And they was like, "What happened to this Anthony Davis?" And all of that honestly came down to really just even him on the defensive end and how remember the championship year, he was trying to make it a point to win Defensive Player of the Year and hold everybody accountable, and like even that's missing this year. Like it was some players I just saw people just kind of like walk by Anthony Davis. So the Lakers, they just look bad overall right now.
I've seen a lot of people say it on Twitter. I've seen I know Jamal Murray and Quentin Richardson, shout out to them on League Pass doing the Hoopers Vision.
Jamal Crawford.
Yeah, Jamal Crawford.
Jamal Murray.
Yeah, Jamal Crawford. My bad. Jamal Crawford and Quentin Richardson doing the Hooper Vision calling the game last night. And Jamal Crawford was kind of saying the same thing. Like AD has to be dominant. I've seen that a lot on Twitter this year. That AD just doesn't. He doesn't dominate games the way that we would like for him to be the best player on the Lakers team. Like he gets a lot of. There'll be some 25 and 12 games, but is it really? I know it sounds weird because once you like 25 and 12 is a great performance, but
he had 22 and 8 last night, and okay, he's gonna put up numbers because he's a talented player. When you're good, that's what you're doing. And I mean, that's why a lot of people are being tough on Anthony Davis. A lot of us thought that he was gonna take the next step after winning that championship to potentially becoming the best player. But I already knew when LeBron won the Finals MVP. He still wasn't about to take that next step because he's not ready to be the best player on the team. And that's holding them back this year because even though LeBron is LeBron, he is one of the best players ever, still one of the best players in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they really needing him to hold down the team is just not working. And then he's missed more games. Like he's missing more and more games every year than he's ever missed because he's just getting older. So, I mean, that looks bad for the Lakers this year. And I mean, honestly, once LeBron leaves, y'all really just going to be the Pelicans in a year or two because Anthony Davis is going to be your best player, and he doesn't look like he can carry a team. So I'm not even just thinking about this year. You just got to think about the future. LeBron's supposed to be leaving the franchise to Anthony Davis is supposed to be the next player, and is he the next player?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he is. You never know. But like I say, he could be playing a lot more dominating. Like he's gonna put up his numbers because most people say consistently, just talent alone, he's a top 3 or 5 player. And you gotta put that talent with the product and the performance as well. If you really want to come out and show you the best player, if you want to be considered one of the best top 5 players in the league, you got to do it every night, like every minute of the game. Yes. But Memphis, like I said, they were out without a lot of their key players, Ja Morant being one of them, Dylan Brooks, who just entered the health and safety protocol just recently. Like I seen a tweet this morning about it, so that had to be last night. Brandon Clark is out. And for them to still come out and just basically dominate the Lakers, show how ready this team is to compete and take that next step. I got them as a second-round team right now because you never know what can happen when you get to the playoffs. But how far do you think Memphis can take this season, honestly, in your honest opinion?
The second round could be realistic, especially once you add Ja back to this team and the defense that you get with Dylan Brooks and some versatility with Brandon Clark. The difference this year is like you got a healthy Jaren Jackson. He has looked healthy this year. He's been playing really well this year. And I like the emergence of Desmond Bain because I've been heavy on Memphis needs a 2 because I don't think they're competing for a championship with Dylan Brooks as their best wing scoring option. But Desmond Bain is really starting to kind of emerge, and even more so now he has these last couple of weeks with Ja being out. I don't know what he's averaging the last couple of weeks since he's been out. He's got to be close to 20 a game. Like since he's been out, he's put up a couple of 20s. He's averaging 16 on the season. He's really kind of somebody that should really be in the most improved conversation that's not really getting some talk. So he's kind of showing me, hey, maybe they already got that player on the roster. If he can be that consistent scorer and can be that consistent 20, that makes Memphis a little bit more dangerous because you already got the player that you need in Ja. He's an all-star. He just got to stay healthy because he had this same thing last year. He got hurt while he was on his run or whatever. So you don't want to let that kind of be a continuous thing to keep happening. But Memphis is coached really well. They play hard. Tyus Jones is a really good backup. Like he's what you need in a backup. He's what you need in a backup. Ja's out. He run the offense. He gets 5, 6 assists. He don't get a lot of turnovers. He's not scoring heavy, but he's producing. So I like him as a backup, and they just playing good overall.
No, sure, I definitely agree with that. And like I say, with players out like that, this is time where you build that chemistry and build some players up. So when it's time to get in some of those tough games later in the season in the playoffs, they're ready to go because they've had moments like this already.
And I think it helps that overall, like they kind of core players have been there the last couple of years. Like, you added Steven Adams this year, and they added Culliver this year, but overall it's been Kyle Anderson, Anthony Melton, Jaren Jackson, Dane the last couple of years of his career. But since they drafted Ja, those guys have been together. So, they're building that chemistry within that too.
No, surely. Every game that's been played in the NBA season that he gets to play, Steph Curry inches closer and closer to that 3-point record. He's about 10 away now. They play tonight. Who they play tonight?
They play Philly.
Yep,
Philly on ESPN.
Okay, I guess my first question leads.
No, they play.
Do you think
they don't play tonight? They play tomorrow.
Play tomorrow, my bad. They play tomorrow.
They play Philly on ESPN tomorrow, bro.
Do you think Steph breaks the record against his brother? Because that way you get your whole family there and we can all just celebrate at one time and one night. Think he goes for Saturday?
Potentially. I think that the potential is there because he just likes to play well against Seth, period. And I think he likes the games even more now against Seth because Seth is kind of that guy for Philly too.
Right.
He's especially with being out, he's the perimeter guy that they go to or whatever. So it's like the matchup means a little more too because Seth is giving them buckets also. So I think Seth actually outscored Steph the last game. It's like 24-23, something like that. So I think that gives a little more incentive for him to really hoop and to knock down them 10 threes, especially if Seth gets it going. So I have said I think he either breaks it against Seth or he does it in the Garden on Tuesday, which means he would have to not do it against Indiana also. But I think it's going down. I don't think he's gonna do it against Philly, but that's his best. I can see him doing it there opposed to Indiana. Right. I think he's gonna make 4 threes against Philly. I think 4. Yeah, I think he's gonna make 4 against Philly, 4 against Indiana, and then he break it against the Knicks in the Garden.
That'd be a big
break their heart because he was one pick away from being a Knick.
That'd be a big moment.
And his emergence to the NBA world was in Madison Square Garden. They lost that game to that 54-win Knick team. Mm-hmm. Steph dropped 54 in the Garden. They lost that game, but everybody left that game thinking like, dang, we've never seen this in the NBA game before. I watch that game like once a year for sure. Just watch how Steph was getting open, how he got hot and stuff like that. So I think he do it against Seth or in the Garden. I'm betting that he's going to do it in the Garden, but I won't be surprised if he did it against Seth.
Nah, for sure. Like I said, just him even getting to this point where he's getting ready to break his record with so much time left in his career. Of course, like he's played 738 games to this point. Ray Allen played, I think, almost 1930 or something like that.
No, Ray played 1,300.
1,300. My
Steph,
bad, right.
Steph has played 730.
Yeah.
738 or 736, something like 7 something.
And it's just, and I think people seem to only understand like volume, like how many shots you're getting up, where Steph is, how many shots is he making. And I think that's the big difference between Steph and a lot of shooters, which I think is going to help him put this record at a ridiculous number. And I know you already done some numbers in your head saying, if he plays so many more games, what number he can get to.
Right.
And what was that number? Which said,
I mean,
you think he has a chance to get the
off this season alone, he's gonna get the 3,000 threes. That ain't even knock on wood. The only thing that's stopping him is if he gets hurt. Knock on wood. We don't want that to hurt him. Because he's getting the 3,000. He's gonna be at 3,000 this year. Only player in NBA history with 3,000. So you just gotta look at the pace and the amount of threes that he make. Plus, Steph got some more years as an elite player. It's not like he's done. So I can imagine the next 3 years he's making 300 threes, minimum 300 threes. So that inches him closer to 4,000. Basically, he's like 6 seasons worth of games behind what Ray Allen played. I say if Steph plays 6 more healthy seasons, he's going to make 5,000 threes. That's my crazy take of the year. Steph's going to make 5,000 threes. And if he makes 5,000 threes, nobody's going to get the record. But I think at the minimum, he gets to 4,500.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you think about it because, like, I remember being younger and only two people had 2,000 threes. So just imagine somebody telling you, like, high school, somebody's gonna hit 3,000 threes for the NBA career.
Right?
Would you really believe it? Like, that's the craziest thing you've ever heard, right?
No, and then like you said, the difference is even in the volume because I know the talk has come up about like who would be next.
Yeah, which is it's way too early.
Yeah, way too early. But who would be next to who breaks his record? But this is like some John Stockton. When he took the assist record type thing, he took it and still had a lot of games to play. And this don't even count the games that Steph has missed. He would have already had the record if he, just take away the season with the broken wrist or fractured hand, whatever he had 2-3 years ago. You take that away, he already got the record. But the next closest is like a lot of people's pick is Trae Young. And I think people are misinterpreting or misviewing Trae's deep threes with just the overall volume of threes that these two make. I mean, just this year alone, Trae's shooting about 7 threes a game, and he's making about 3 a game. Steph is shooting 11, and he's making 5.5 a game. So he's he's taking more threes than him, and he's making more.
Right.
I mean, Trae, just because he's a comparison. But Trae hasn't even, which the volume can always go up, but Trae's always been more of a playmaker too. So, but like you got to average 10 threes, average 10 taking threes a season, and Trae hasn't even averaged that yet. And then it's also the matter, like you said, not just the volume that you're shooting, but the percentage that you're making. Trae hasn't shot 40% from 3 yet, including this year. He's shooting a career high this year, 39%. And Steph's shooting 41%. This is like one of the lowest of his career. And that's where you get into why he's the best shooter ever, because it like a couple years ago when James Harden was shooting 16, 17 threes a game, he took that many threes a game, which was way more than Steph took the year that he shot 402 threes, made 402 threes, and he's not even close
to that record. He's not close to even Steph's second place record.
Right, exactly. So that's just where it get different, and that's why, like, I just think the only thing that's stopping Steph, we're gonna say knock on wood again, is injuries. That's the only thing that's stopping him from getting this record to 4,000, 4,500. 4,500 is a safe, wild number for me, but I'm on records now. I think he's gonna hit 5,000 threes. If he plays 6 more years, 6 seasons, that's gonna make 5,000 threes.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. But that just goes to show what kind of shooter he's been since he's come into the league. Because you gotta remember, he came in the league where you wasn't gonna be able to take 7 threes a night every night. So he's definitely helped with the growth of the 3-point shot.
Or if you did, like, that would be like the most you would take. Players like Reggie Miller attempted 7 threes. Reggie might attempt, and that was high. Ray Allen is about 6.
I think
5 to
Glenn
6
Rice had
career.
1 year where he shot 9, but he was making 4.5 that year though.
But people aren't doing that on average for their career with the amount that they're making. So that's just what takes it in. Like I said, this is not even the best percentage he's shot from 3. Remember early in the years, like Steph is shooting, he's really not even going off. Right. He's just
hooping. No, he's just hooping. And just to stick with the Warriors, Andrew Wiggins, he's really improved and fit in a lot better this year in the offense, especially not having to be that second scorer that they thought he would have to be. Like, he's really, him and Jordan Poole, they kind of switch most nights, and Jordan Poole being the better shooter, that offense kind of helps well, even though Andrew Wiggins is leading them in 3-point percentage, just, a couple point percentage up from Steph. But to see Andrew Wiggins, like what I think you said, he was shooting 48% and 41 from the 3, averaging about 18 points.
Yeah, 18.
To see his career kind of round off like this in Golden State, where you get the efficiency and you do get some decent scoring numbers. Plus, I guess a lot of people will say, defense type defense. Is this the perfect situation for him? You think Andrew Wiggins found the perfect situation?
Yeah, because stuff just got weird for him when Klay got hurt, because he comes there thinking he is, all right, I am the number 3 option, and then Klay gets hurt. So since he's averaged 23 in the league, some people just assume, including me, that he just jumped back into that role. But he's fit more into the people overall create for him, but then when he needs to go ISO, he can, and then just kind of locking in defensively, which we always asked him to do, but he never really did it. So he's finally like took that next step. Shout out to Daniel Artest. He said he thinks he's the top 5 2-way player in the league.
That's fair.
Which, I mean, you can't really argue against it, but that also helps when Klay come back, because now you don't have to rush Klay in the guard and the top wing defender or whatever. But he's definitely, like I said, people were looking at him from a different perspective because he goes to the Warriors and the scoring isn't at 20 a game. But since he's been there, his efficiency has been up because he's playing more into the system. He's taking better shots, and he's gotten comfortable in his role. And then, like you said, with the mergers of Jordan Poole being that other scorer, almost like having a diet Klay there, because that's what you would expect Klay to be, that second person there. That helps him even more to lock in his role, because people don't realize how much players in the NBA, especially the elite players, are different. Steph Steph, KD, Giannis, LeBron, they don't count. They're different. Everybody else, but even them to a sense, everybody else fits into such a routine. That's why even when certain players are out, a coach won't start the main player off the bench because his routine is being the sixth man. That's how you run the minutes and stuff like that. So Wiggins being able to lock into his routine has just helped this game as he's gotten comfortable in Golden State. And a lot of people thought he was going to be that training chip when it was who they're going to get rid of him and Kelly Oubre. But he's a valuable piece of the team. And I think he's going to be a part of them trying to make it back to the finals.
Right. And like say, adding Clay and James Wiseman, I know right now you're not one of the people that got. I know a lot of people got to go into at least the Western Conference Finals or maybe even the finals, but you're not quite there yet. Do you think everybody can come in and kind of get everything clicking, 10, 15 games into it? You think that kind of ups their chances a bit?
Yeah, I think if Clay and James are healthy, not even Clay doesn't have to be an all-star, James doesn't have to be an all-star. They just have to be healthy and do what we expect them to do. And for Clay, that's 38 to 40% from three. Really, it's 40% from three, but 38 to 40% from three, fresh off that injury. Wiseman, giving rim protection. I honestly prefer players like him to average 10 rebounds, but as long as you're getting 8 to 10 rebounds, as long as they're giving them that, I think that just changes. That just ups to the level because Steph alone gets them in the Western Conference Finals. I can see they can make the Western Conference with Steph, but I think there's a lot of talent in the NBA period where you're not just getting over certain teams with just that one player. Unless, obviously it's a matter of matchup too, because if you get the right matchup, they will go there. But more likely, once you get to the Western Conference Finals, it's harder to overcome that team with one player, especially always in particular in the West, because those teams are usually going to be deep. If it's not two all-stars at the top, it's an all-star and borderline all-star, then another borderline. So it's always tougher in the West to overcome that. So, but they got the top defense in the league, right? They got the top defense in the league.
Offense, but
top offense and the top five defense. So whenever you got those two combos, that always works well for you. But that doesn't. That's not a guarantee because we saw the Raptors for years have the top offense and the top defense and couldn't get past LeBron into the finals. So
it is what it is. But I seen a wild picture yesterday on Twitter, and of course, it's because these players have been playing great. This team in general has been playing great. So it was a picture of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. It was kind of blurry. Gotta go in the next slide. They wipe the glasses off, and they would call Tim Duncan and David Robinson. I ain't saying that yet, but I know you are record saying if Cleveland keeps playing good, maybe Jared Allen can be an all-star. I've seen a couple other people say that maybe he can be all-star as well. He keeps playing good like that. But realistically, what is the potential of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? Because I do think that's a good 4-5 combo.
Yeah, it's defensively. I can feel him on that for real because Evan Mobley is he's special defensively. Like I think he could be in the running for all defense this year. Not player of the year, but just all defense team, right? Or whatever. I can't remember who it was, but I think it was JJ Redick. Shout out JJ Redick. He said he thinks he's a future defensive player of the year candidate or whatever. So the defense is like Cleveland's top 5 in defense. And if nothing about their team is not a fluke, the defense is not a fluke at all. I'm sure people still don't believe that they're as good as they are or whatever. I think they're a solid team overall. But the potential keeps growing with how good, because obviously Jared Allen isn't going to be on the. First of all, you got to put it in perspective. David Robinson won. Not only was he an MVP, he won a scoring title, so he'll give you some buckets too.
Right.
So Jared Allen's not that, but he is a potential all-star. But I do think Evan Mobley has potential offensively. So where it's different. It's not that, but it's different or whatever. So, but I think Evan Mobley, especially as he gets his NBA body, gets his NBA strength, his potential is through the roof, and he's like a potential multi-time all-star, in my opinion. He's been my favorite rookie to watch, I think. Yeah, I think I like him the most out of all these rookies.
No, that's fair.
Just need to be a little stronger because he kind of weak.
Kind of frail there.
He a hooper though. He give you buckets, and he's guarding guards on the perimeter. Like you're not switching on him. If you do the pick and roll and he switch on you, you run the pick and roll again to get another switch because you don't want him guarding you.
No, I think
he's athletic. He moves his feet well, long arms. Yeah, Evan Mobley piece.
Stays down, which is the most important part. Because once you decide to get up off your feet and get on your tippy toes, you're dead in the water.
Right. Yeah. So he had really good mechanics.
All right. The last I checked, the Houston Rockets were on the longest winning streak in the NBA at 7 games.
7 games. Yep.
Are you impressed?
No.
No,
Not
even a little bit.
Nope. Not
This
impressed
is what
at
these
all.
teams do sometimes.
It's what happens.
Enough players get hot.
We've seen it. They kind of did the same thing last year. People don't remember when they went on that big, long ass 18-game losing streak. After that they won a couple in a row. No, before that they won.
Yeah.
And then they went on the crazy losing streak. So it's just what happens. Like players come back healthy, and they're doing this though right now without the two young players mainly on the court. Jalen Green and Kevin Porter haven't played the last few games, but. Not impressed. I'm not giving no credit to the Houston Rockets until they do something with John Wall and get a point guard on this team. I ain't giving them no credit for nothing. Not a thing.
Oh, that's fair. You're not even giving them credit for being ready to play?
Nope. Not giving them no. I mean, now they're winning because just the veterans are on the floor, so I'm not surprised. They got DJ Augustine, Eric Gordon, Christian Wood is a solid player. It's solid players in Houston. Houston doesn't have to be as bad as they are. They don't have to be terrible, and you don't have to develop your players like that, especially when you already have a number 2 pick. So I ain't giving them credit for nothing. Nothing at all. I'm not a fan of the Houston Rockets this year.
Not fair. Before we get out of here, I want to bring up Damian Lillard, who's good.
But shout out to those players. My bad. But shout out to those players hooping, because I do want to always give credit to the players. It's not their fault that their management sucked. But shout out to the players for not going out like
I think that's what happened when you trade a star and want to rebuild and don't really have a plan. Like they had a bunch of picks this year in the draft, and they already had a young guy, a young player that wanted to play a point guard. So it's like,
and I seen Nick, shout out to Nick Andre again. He said a few times like this team could have been competitive. He said, I mean, you have John Wall's and nobody expected him to win a championship, but if your number 2 pick is who we expect him to be, and you're adding him to Christian Wood, who is an all-star, John Wall, who still averaged 19 and 8 last year, something like that. Yeah. My numbers are a little off, but something like that. Eric Gordon, a solid role player. It's a solid team there. And if those 2 players in particular, Kevin Porter and Jalen Green, who you think they are, you already fast-tracking them to really compete in. Plus, free agents will come to Texas. It's tax-free. The weather's usually good. They like the women down there. Ask James Harden about the strip clubs. Houston is doing their rebuild all wrong, and they're going to hurt these players in the long run. So shout out to the vets for going on that winning streak, though.
No, sure. Like I said, before we got out here, I want to bring up Dame, who, of course, has been all in the Twitter news lately. Mm-hmm. People questioning the loyalty, if he should have stuck to it, especially after he came out. He was quoted saying, he would like to play with a defensive-minded wing, like a Ben Simmons or a Jaylen Brown. He named somebody else. I don't remember another player. Those 2 I remember. But, of course, when he says that, people start to feel in, you start to feel this type. Some people feel the type of way when you hear it, because now it's like you complain about the roster and maybe you shouldn't have stayed so loyal and this is going to hurt you in the long run. But when I hear that, I hear a star player saying what he's supposed to say, because I'm pretty sure. My thing is, just because a player wants to be somewhere, we talked about it yesterday, just talking, but because a player says he wants to be somewhere and he doesn't want to leave and ring chase, doesn't mean he's content with what's going on in the organization. And I feel like that's how people feel about Dame not wanting to leave Portland. Like he's okay with them putting out a first round exit team or a team that doesn't live up to the potential, or, as your point, a steadily injured team. And I'm pretty sure year in and year out, he's saying like, what move? Like, let's make some moves. Let's bring some players in. Like, let's do something. And it just doesn't work for a team like Portland. I know, like, man, you were saying, like, even though they're a small market team, they're not one of the poorly funded teams. Right. Like, they have an owner who can spend money. But what are you spending money on, really? It's like, what player ever in their life said, as a free agent, I'm going to Portland, that had choices? Like, not a minimum contract player. You're not a 2-year role player. Like, Portland has to do what they do. They sign their players to their extensions, but it's like nobody who's ever come to Portland without being traded.
Every best player in the history of their franchise is going to be somebody we named that they drafted.
And it's like that's how
Dame, Brandon
Rasheed
Roy,
was the only one
they didn't draft Rasheed. Yeah, he's the only one. But yeah, we name them. They probably drafted
right.
More than likely.
So it's like, but that's the thing. It's like he could that's the thing. Like, how do you convince a player to go there? Like, the GM just got fired, so clearly, he hasn't been doing the best job. You get fired in the middle of the season like this when you're struggling. But it's like, how do you convince a player to come to Portland that doesn't want to come to Portland for whatever reason? Yeah,
and the whole Dame situation, it just really shows the the up and downness, the backwardness of NBA Twitter at times, because it's just funny to see people call him out because they think because of his loyalty, and it all stems from people think he's being fake loyal, which don't project yourself on Dame. People think that somebody can't really mean that I got drafted here, I want to be here, and the only thing they think about is wanting to lead them and go win a championship. But he's proven this has been who he is. He didn't transfer in high school to a bigger school to get bigger opportunities.
Trying to say something about that, about how he had to leave, for more opportunities. Like he went to college. Like,
he did.
He went to college.
Yeah,
he didn't leave.
It's very documented that Dame had opportunities to go to another school to get other opportunities. He chose to stay at his school, play with his friends, and he ended up at Weber State, and it worked out for him. He still got drafted in the top 10. So he's been on record of being that's just how he is. But people are trying to dangle his loyalty. But then at the same time, if Dame would have asked to leave 5 years ago, then he would have went through all these players just ring chase. Nobody want to go through the grind type of thing. But people are trying to project their own disloyalty on Dame, which just let it go. If you would have chosen to leave, you would have chosen to leave. But the best point you made is just because he does want to be there, just because Bradley Beal does want to be in Washington, that's the team that drafted him. I've had some success here, but I haven't had the full success. But I've seen what making it to the Western Conference Finals would do. So imagine if we did make it to the finals. I know how crazy Washington is when we're winning in the first and second round. Imagine if we make it to the finals. So you do want to see it built up for your team. That don't mean you have to just accept when things aren't working out. And then there's also the perspective of, remember we came into last season, Portland was a lot of people's favorite for the moves they made over the summer when they signed Derrick Jones, traded for Robert Covington and things like that. Then you go into the season and players get hurt. CJ gets hurt every year. Nurk gets hurt every year.
Rocco got hurt.
So it's that's a part of it too. So you can want to hold these players accountable, but then still want to see yourself have success with that team that drafted you. That doesn't mean his loyalty is fake, or he's faking it, or he's just talking and he's going to run as soon as the chance comes, because players do want to compete for a championship, but I don't think it's the end of the world for a lot of them. So Portland has been funny. I mean, it's just been funny just how everything's worked out. Even the whole Chauncey situation. Obviously, everybody hates the Chauncey hire now. I can literally remember 4 summers ago, whenever it was, and people was begging Cleveland to hire him as their GM. He chose not to take that job because he decided he wanted to get in coaching, which is how he ended up being the assistant coach for the Clippers, so he could get a year of coaching under his belt. And that's why he was sought after to be a head coach. Portland wasn't the only team that wanted Chauncey Billups. But that's just how it all goes when the narrative goes in a different direction. Because if Portland was winning right now, it would be all lovely or whatever. So I ain't all that to say Dame has been who he always wants to be. He's stuck to he's gonna ride with his teammates. He had a good relationship with Chauncey, so he wanted to ride for Chauncey. And it's on Portland's owners and the president of basketball operations to also know, I'm not signing these players, so how do I be creative with trades? How do I be creative with the money? How do I scout better in the draft, find steals in the draft? That's what they have to do. Because I remember even just to the last point, you brought up somebody talking about Dame taking a pay cut. It's not like Portland has 8 players with max contracts. They can put other players on their team. They offered KD a max. He went to Brooklyn. They offered Melo a max. He signed back with New York. They offered LaMarcus Aldridge the max. He thought he was going to be the next Tim Duncan.
What do you want him to do?
What can you do?
What can you do?
They paid CJ. He gets hurt every year. CJ's hurt right now. No disrespect to him.
Especially with this injury. This injury.
No disrespect to him. CJ's hurt every year. You can pencil in his players. I just always say you can pencil in them being hurt. CJ, Kyrie, AD. It happens every season. It just is what it is. But all that don't fall on Dame. And I'm going to end it again by saying stop projecting your disloyalty on Dame because you think he can't truthfully want to stay in Portland. He got drafted there. Why not?
They take a chance on him. He gonna stick with him. But with that being said, I'm gonna end it right there. I think that's a good spot there. Like I say, just let Dame be Dame, man. He's having a down year. He's also hurt.
And within the down year, Portland's still gonna make the playoffs this year. I'm willing to bet money on that.
Oh, Dame plays from January on. They make the playoffs.
Money that they're literally in playoff position right now. When the last time Dame didn't make the playoffs? The best chance was a few years ago. and then the play-in happened and they made it. But I'm willing to bet money they're going to make the playoffs. So,
but other than that, you got anything else?
Nah. Other than that, just as always, shouts at Off the Ball Network. We here every Friday for the Hoopers Morning Run, 9 a.m. Off the Ball Network's Facebook page, the Hoopers YouTube page, and the Hoopers Twitter page. If you want to go back and watch the runs today or any other run, just go to the YouTube, subscribe, search Hoopers Pod on YouTube. Then you can also find us anywhere podcasts are available. Of course, just search Hoopers Pod, Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all them cool places. Every Monday, for Off the Ball Mondays, you can find us on Nothing But Net, on the Nothing But Net channel through the Dash Radio app, 3 p.m. for the Hoopers Hour. And of course, every Wednesday, shout out to the Halftime app. We host a room at 6 p.m. on the Halftime app, the Hoopers Room. We did some NBA talk this week just because, some history is getting close to being made, and some history just made with KD passing Iverson on the scoring list. So every Wednesday, Hoopers Room. Don't know who we're doing next week, but that'll get put out there sometime. So
surely.
Oh, and Jokic had another triple-double last night, so that ties him for James Harden. I just think it's always funny when players lap players that are actively playing.
No, yeah, I seen that. Like, Jokic is really close to lapping some people that's still playing outside of Westbrook.
Yeah, whoever gets his next triple-double get the lead, and I'm willing to bet it's going to be Jokic.
I'm willing to bet that, too, with how hard
so Westbrook passed Oscar Robinson. Them triple-doubles done went, like, he has, like, 8 above Oscar. He passed him last year, so.
Hey. All right, y'all, we out of here.
All right, catch y'all next week.